Hello and welcome to the latest video from Doctor Who Explainer videos. In this video my digital voice explores the twin dilemma, one of my favourites from my childhood. This explainer is in 3 parts. Firstly, an academically inclined analysis, then a summary of each of the parts of the story, then finishing with the top 10 scenes as pointed out by fans over the years. Also, if you didn't know already, Colin Baker was the first Doctor Who fan to play the Doctor, beating Peter Capaldi by almost 3 decades. According to Wikipedia, Colin Baker was cast on June 10, 1983, at the age of 40. Capaldi, having started his acting career in 1982 at the age of 24, must have been kicking himself, or his agent, to learn that a fan got the part. And now, let's dive into one of the most controversial stories in Doctor Who's history. Cue serious voice. Context: a turbulent debut. The twin dilemma serves as the inaugural full story for Colin Baker's Sixth Doctor, the final serial of Season 21, airing in 4 twice-weekly parts in the UK from the 22nd to the 30th of March 1984. Unlike most regenerations that open a season, this one introduces a Doctor viewers haven't yet bonded with. A bold but risky move. This story follows immediately on the heels of the acclaimed Caves of Androzani, which elevated expectations, making Twin Dilemma's reception even harsher. Production was chaotic. Anthony Stevens' sole script faced delays due to illness, requiring Eric Soward to restructure scenes on the fly. Director Peter Moffat later called it one of his worst serials. Tone and performance: a Doctor at war with himself. Colin Baker's Dr. Begum volatile, abrasive and contradictory, straying far from the Doctor's prior incarnation's warmth. His immediate attempt to strangle Perry is a shockingly dark moment, signalling internal chaos. Yet many critics, though critical of the overall script, agree Baker commits fully. The TARDIS Guide says, Colin Baker acts the hell out of it, and his performance is undeniably memorable. Some modern reappraisals even argue his misanthropic Doctor adds depth. One reviewer sees a masterstroke in alienating the viewer to better reclaim them later. Nevertheless, the initial off-putting portrayal did little to engender immediate empathy. In fact, it ended up being precisely the opposite. Plot mechanics. Ambitious concept, poor execution. The central plot, gastropod alien Mestor attempting to destroy his son to launch parasitic eggs across the galaxy, requiring twin math geniuses, had high potential but suffered from execution flaws. The narrative juggles 2 main threads: the Doctor's post-regenerative breakdown and the children's abduction. Critics agree the twin storyline lacks emotional weight. The twins are frequently described as unbearably bad and cringe-inducing. Production design and visual style. Critics nearly universally condemn the visual presentation. Garish costumes, cluttered sets, and uninspired creature design. Mestor's slug costume and the barren landscapes of Jaconda evoke B-movie aesthetics, although this was the 1980s, when garish colours and big hair was the norm. Casting twin boys was problematic. Director Moffat found them difficult to work with and unconvincing actors. Apparently their father played a guard so he could accompany them on set. The Doctor's costume, a shock of mismatched bright colours with question marks on the collar, inspired by Mr. Darcy, per Nathan Turner's vision of a proud alien Doctor, remains one of the most divisive designs in series history. In fact, at the time, rumours abounded that the multicoloured costume was a deliberate choice by JNT to make it difficult to replicate, as he allegedly didn't like fans dressing up as the Doctor. Colin Baker later said that the costume wasn't his choice, as he wanted the Doctor to wear a leather jacket. He couldn't understand why that idea was so difficult to introduce in Doctor Who at the time, and later pointed to Christopher Eccleston's Doctor's leather jacket as proof that it would have been a lot more popular than what he was saddled with. Even so, the clashing colours of the costume in the 1980s soon transformed from cringe to iconic, in this fans' reappraisals of classic Doctor Who, at least. Fan and critical reception. Twin Dilemma is consistently rated at or near the bottom in fan polls. Worst story ever, worst Sixth Doctor debut, and cited by Russell T Davies as the beginning of the end. Doctor Who magazine polls of 1998, 2009, 2014, and 2023 rank it tragically low. Contemporary blogs such as Going Through Doctor Who label it incredibly poor, but a strangely respectable kind of failure. However, a few voices defend it for what it attempts. In the DVD commentary, Baker, Bryant and Kevin McNally express fondness for its raw, unself-conscious energy. Legacy and what could have been. Set against the glory of Caves of Androzani, Twin Dilemma feels like a severe misstep. Placing a dark, unlikable Doctor at the end of a powerful season risked viewer alienation, with no time for redemption to rebuild empathy. That said, Baker has noted this was a deliberate character arc, remove a layer of charm to reveal the core soul gradually. It's a concept noble in theory, flawed in application. Moreover, the novelization by Eric Saward, with more detail on regeneration and inner Doctor's psychology, according to Wikipedia at least, is often considered superior to the televised version. Conclusion: a foundation built on shaky ground, in point form. The Twin Dilemma is the Sixth Doctor's debut, broadcasting abruptly after a beloved predecessor and confusing expectations. Colin Baker's brash, hostile Doctor shocked viewers, but is a bold alien-human portrayal that eventually found footing. The central science fiction storyline had high potential, yet was undercut by weak writing, poor acting, and awkward pacing. Production constraints, rushed filming, and miscast actors contributed to a stilted, clashing visual tone. Although widely regarded as one of the weakest stories ever, fan polls, critical lists, some retrospective voices see its raw ambition, self-awareness, or candid energy as a kind of flawed charm. The regeneration arc would need time, not a cliffhanger, to rebuild sympathy, which Twin Dilemma lacked. Now, unlike many viewers, and also unlike the then controller of the BBC, Michael Sport-Only Grade, I particularly liked the Twin Dilemma as much as I loved Peter Davison's portrayal, I really wanted to see a more alien Doctor. The Fifth Doctor regretting poisoning the Silurians, not shooting Davros, begging his companions to stay so he can fix any misunderstandings, or going through adventures where things just fall into his lap when he needs them, made Davison's era for me charming, yet more like a futuristic version of All Creatures Great and Small. I should point out that having watched All Creatures Great and Small before Davison became the Doctor, it took a bit of time for me to accept him as the Fifth. I mean, Fought a Doomsday with intergalactic frogs? Were they a homage to the Muppets? I was waiting for Tristan Farnon to put his hand up somewhere to fix the problem. In comparison, the Fifth Doctor's final story, The Caves of Androzani, was a tour de force, but even near the end of his life, the Fifth Doctor is still apologizing for his actions, explaining why he had to save Perry. Yet, in the Twin Dilemma, everything changes. Fantastic. A colorfully coded caustic Doctor. How awesome. I remember being enamored by Colin Baker's portrayal almost immediately. And after the Twin Dilemma, I was so looking forward to the next season. With Attack of the Cybermen, I wasn't disappointed, and Sixie became my favourite until Sylvester McCoy appeared, and then I loved them both equally. In retrospect, while the classic Doctors are splendid chaps, all of them, and John Pertwee was the Doctor I first saw through watching repeats in Australia over and over, and I had already read all the Target novelisations available by 1984, I think it meant that the adventures of Doctors 1 to 5 weren't that exciting. My child self knew that most of them had been on before and will again. But with the Sixth Doctor, everything was new, completely new. Not even Target novelisations were available yet to warn me what was going to happen next. I had to wait for further Sixth Doctor adventures in fervent anticipation. In fact, the regeneration into the Sixth Doctor was probably the first time I'd seen the Doctor regenerate. Having repeatedly missed repeats of Planet of the Spiders Part 6 and Logopolis Part 4, in this sense Colin Baker is my Doctor, the one that became the Doctor around the time when I was beginning to appreciate Doctor Who. And so the Twin Dilemma has that extra layer of childhood surprise and appreciation, which elevates the story for me beyond its various faults. My favourite scene, being obsessed with the concept of time travel at the time, is when the Doctor ends up about 10 seconds in the future, makes a quick adjustment to shift back in time, meaning that linearly he was both inside the TARDIS and outside it at the same time. What a cute scene that could have been cut but wasn't, and reflected the Time Lordish nature of the Doctor, simply perfunctorily shifting back to the correct time zone. How fun is that? Well, I was beside myself. Unfortunately, unlike the Doctor, not literally. And now, a brief summary of the Twin Dilemma in parts, followed by the top 10 best scenes. Warning, spoilers. The Twin Dilemma, Part 1, 1984. Summary. The Sixth Doctor's era begins in psychological chaos and cosmic intrigue. The episode opens in the home of Professor Sylvester, where twin prodigies Romulus and Remus are showcasing their extraordinary mathematical abilities. Their detached, hyper-rational perspective unsettles even their father, who warns that their skills could reshape the universe. The twins are later visited by a mysterious figure, Professor Edgeworth, who uses hypnotic devices to erase their memories and kidnaps them via teleportation, hinting at their strategic importance in a greater extraterrestrial scheme. Meanwhile, aboard the TARDIS, newly regenerated Doctor, Colin Baker, begins to assert his sixth persona, bombastic, arrogant, and unstable. Perry is disturbed by his dramatic shift in personality from the gentle Fifth Doctor. The Sixth Doctor dismisses her concerns, claiming he has achieved a positive triumph in regeneration. As he searches for a new wardrobe, he spirals through erratic emotions, at one point collapsing in existential despair before selecting a flamboyantly mismatched multicolored outfit. Perry, increasingly concerned about his erratic behavior, is stunned when the Doctor accuses her of being an alien spy. In a terrifying moment, he physically attacks her, attempting to strangle her, only stopping when she reflects his own face back to him in a mirror. Shaken, Perry watches as the Doctor recoils in horror, realizing the potential violence of his new self. Edgeworth, now revealed to be working with a sinister alien overlord named Mestor, a grotesque slug-like creature, arrives on a spaceship with the kidnapped twins. Mestor's plan requires the twins' mathematical genius. Though reluctant, Edgeworth obeys Mestor's telepathic commands and prepares to relocate to a secret base on Titan III. Back on Earth, Professor Sylvestre reports the kidnapping to the Special Incident Room, where Commander Fabian immediately suspects extraterrestrial involvement. A pursuit is launched, and Commander Lang leads a space mission to intercept the kidnappers. Lang detects the stolen freighter, which mysteriously increases speed, despite being a vessel incapable of such technology, and disappears. In the TARDIS, the Doctor declares himself unfit for companionship, convinced he is a danger to the universe. Abandoning the idea of a holiday, he decides to become a hermit on desolate Titan III, dragging a fearful and confused Perry along. Meanwhile, the twins, now prisoners in a bunker on Titan III, attempt to send a distress signal, hoping someone will detect it. Coincidentally, a Federation ship crash lands on Titan III, and the Doctor and Perry investigate the wreckage. They rescue a sole survivor, Commander Lang, who, regaining consciousness, immediately accuses the Doctor of murdering his entire squadron. As the episode ends, Lang points a weapon at the bewildered Doctor, and tensions reach a boiling point. Part 2. The episode begins where Part 1 left off, inside the TARDIS, where Commander Lang, barely conscious, attempts to shoot the Doctor, believing him responsible for the destruction of his squadron. Perry disarms him, and though shaken, she persuades the Doctor to save Lang's life despite his protests. The Doctor reluctantly agrees, using advanced medical tools to stabilize Lang. This act of reluctant compassion contrasts sharply with the Sixth Doctor's erratic personality, which continues to alienate Perry. Meanwhile, at the secret base on the desolate asteroid Titan III, Edgeworth and his alien Jacondan allies are growing increasingly paranoid. The twins, Romulus and Remus, resist their captor's demands to complete advanced equations, revealing that their genius is being exploited for a powerful and mysterious purpose. When they rebel, Edgeworth threatens them, and the grotesque alien overlord Mestor appears via a psychic projection, warning the boys that disobedience will mean their minds will just be taken from them, and he'll use them anyway. Terrified, they comply. Back in the TARDIS, the Doctor begins to recover his confidence and claims he senses a massive threat to the universe. Reinterpreting Lang's delirious mention of children, the Doctor deduces that abducted child prodigies must be at the center of the mystery. With new purpose, he drags Perry out into the wilderness of Titan III in search of a hidden base. Their bickering continues, and the Doctor's arrogance and literary quotations grate on Perry, who remains skeptical yet loyal. They discover a camouflaged dome structure that the Doctor identifies as unnatural, a clear sign of intelligent life. Entering, they begin to explore. Inside, the twins are finishing a complex set of equations, apparently being used to power something significant. Edgeworth sends them to rest while he completes a transmission. Meanwhile, Perry pleads with the Doctor to investigate more deeply, but he prefers caution. Just as they consider retreating, Jacondan guards capture them. Inside the base, the Doctor is shocked to discover that Professor Edgeworth is in fact Azmael, a fellow Time Lord, and his old mentor from Gallifrey. However, Azmael denies any friendship and insists the Doctor must not interfere with his current mission, which he claims is to save his people. Though clearly troubled, he teleports away with the twins and the Jacondans using a transmat system, leaving the Doctor, Perry, and a 10 million combination door lock behind. As the Doctor investigates the room, Perry stumbles upon a red flashing device, a self-destruct mechanism counting down to an explosion. Realizing their lives are at stake, the Doctor rapidly reprograms a revitalization booth to send them to the TARDIS. He beams Perry to safety in the TARDIS, but when he tries to follow using Perry's watch, he finds it has stopped. He has to risk it without guidance. The episode ends in suspense as Perry watches in horror on the scanner as the base explodes, screaming the Doctor's name, unsure if he survived. Part 3. The episode opens with the Doctor's successful return to the TARDIS after narrowly escaping the self-destructing Titan III base. His arrival is misaligned due to Perry's stopped watch, leading him to briefly phase seconds into the future in the TARDIS. A few presses of buttons on the console and he appears at the correct time. Once stabilized, the Doctor resumes his usual erratic tone, deriding Perry even as she expresses relief and compassion. Lieutenant Lang, now recovered, continues to mistrust the Doctor, but agrees to accompany him and Perry to Jaconda in search of the kidnapped twins. On board the freighter, Azmael is confronted by the twins for abandoning the Doctor and Perry. It is revealed that Noma, one of Mestor's Jacondan agents, secretly triggered the destruction of the Titan III base without Azmael's consent. Azmael is horrified by the murder and begins to question the extremity of Mestor's control. Meanwhile, on Jaconda, the story takes a darker turn. The once verdant planet is now devastated, stripped of foliage and life, bearing the unmistakable trails of giant gastropods, half-slug creatures thought to be mythical. The Doctor confirms the devastation is the result of their return, implying that Mestor is one of these creatures or their leader. The bleak landscape sends the trio, the Doctor, Perry and Lang, back into the TARDIS to reassess their situation. As Azmael's freighter lands, he is ordered to report to Mestor's palace laboratory with the twins. There, they witness the incubator chambers, where thousands of giant gastropod eggs await hatching. The twins, deeply disturbed, begin to realize the extent of the biological horror they are enabling. Mestor finally appears, a grotesque, telepathic slug-like creature, and demands to see the twins' progress. The Doctor, Perry, and Lang attempt to sneak into the palace through a forgotten underground passage. On the way, they pass murals depicting the ancient myth of Jaconda's devastation by the slug creatures, which the Doctor now sees as historical fact. Lang becomes trapped in fast-hardening gastropod slime, slowing their progress. Tensions rise and the Doctor has a meltdown, lashing out at Perry and storming off in frustration. Eventually, the Doctor locates Azmael and confronts him, believing he was complicit in their attempted murder. After a brief fight, the misunderstanding is resolved. Azmael, now revealed as a former friend and fellow Time Lord, explains his plan to move 2 neighbouring planets into orbit around Jaconda using the twins' calculations, creating new Larder worlds. The Doctor is appalled, explaining that such an astronomical realignment would risk tearing a hole in the fabric of space-time. At the same time, Perry and Lang are ambushed. Perry is captured and delivered to Mestor, who discovers she is alive, a revelation that undermines Noma's false report that all threats had been neutralized. Lang escapes, but not before he can warn the Doctor. The episode ends on a tragic note. Azmael insists that even if Perry must die, the plan must go ahead to save Jaconda. The Doctor, torn between loyalty to his friend and the need to rescue Perry, is forced into a moral dilemma, setting the stage for the final confrontation. Part 4. Mestor, the grotesque gastropod overlord, holds Perry captive but delays killing her, sensing that her companion, the Doctor, is still a threat. The Doctor is soon captured and brought before Mestor. He pretends to cooperate, offering his expertise in planetary physics in exchange for his life, claiming he can help perfect the plan to move 2 nearby planets into Jaconda's orbit. Mestor, suspicious yet intrigued, allows him to continue working in the laboratory. Back in the lab, the twins recover their full memories and resume their calculations under Azmael's supervision. The Doctor quickly deduces that Mestor's plan is catastrophically flawed. The 2 smaller planets will fall into the Sun if relocated so close, causing a massive explosion. The dry, nearly indestructible eggs in the hatchery, designed to withstand solar detonation, reveal Mestor's real plan: to scatter his species across the universe through stellar detonation and biological invasion. Realizing this, the Doctor urges Perry, Lang, and the twins to escape to the TARDIS while he and Azmael confront Mestor. They destroy all records of the calculations to prevent Mestor from executing his plan without the twins' help. However, their accomplice Drac is revealed to be dead, his mind burned out by Mestor, who was using him as a telepathic surveillance tool. Meanwhile, the TARDIS is under threat. Jacondan guards discover and invade it. Lang later retakes control of the craft, capturing the intruders. As Perry and Lang escort the twins to safety, they are intercepted by Noma and guards. A firefight ensues, and Lang eliminates the threat, demonstrating both his resolve and his usefulness. Back in the palace, the Doctor boldly confronts Mestor in his throne room. His first attempt to harm Mestor with a vial of volatile liquid fails due to Mestor's protective force field. But the real danger lies in Mestor's mind control abilities. He attempts to possess the Doctor's body. Instead, Azmael intervenes, allowing Mestor to possess him instead. Through sheer willpower, Azmael traps Mestor in his own mind and sacrifices his life to destroy him, permanently ending the gastropod's threat. As Azmael dies, he shares a tender moment with the Doctor, recalling their long friendship and former days on Jaconda. With Mestor defeated and Jaconda liberated, Lang decides to remain behind to help rebuild the devastated society. The Doctor gives him Azmael's ring as a symbol of leadership and respect. The Chamberlain, cowardly and self-serving, is refused passage off-world and left to Lang's judgment. As the Doctor, Perry and the twins return to the TARDIS and depart, Perry expresses concern over the Doctor's erratic and often rude behaviour. The Doctor defends his new persona, asserting his alien nature and declaring, "I am the Doctor, whether you like it or not." The TARDIS dematerializes, leaving Jaconda behind, and marking the turbulent but victorious beginning of the Sixth Doctor's journey. And now, 10 key scenes that are notable and or visually striking, not necessarily in broadcast order. Number 1. The Doctor strangling Perry. This shocking moment immediately signals the instability of the Sixth Doctor post-regeneration. It's a jarring inversion of viewer expectations. Where the Doctor previously embodied empathy, he lashes out in violence. The scene has stayed in fans' minds for its audacity and dramatic discord, frequently cited in discussions of regeneration trauma. This kind of alienation had rarely been used in the show before. It's difficult to think of another... Oh wait. William Hartnell's portrayal of both the Good Doctor and the evil Abbot of Amboise in The Massacre. Patrick Troughton's portrayal of both the Good Doctor and the evil Salamander in The Enemy of the World. Tom Baker's portrayal of the Good Doctor and the evil Meglos in, well, Meglos. Peter Davison's portrayal of the Good Doctor and the evil Omega in The Arc of Infinity. Okay, so maybe alienating viewers is what Doctor Who sometimes does. Even so, the Doctor has never strangled anyone before the Twin Dilemma. On a side note, The Arc of Infinity is the first appearance of Colin Baker in Doctor Who, where he played Commander Maxil, given the order to ironically kill the Fifth Doctor. Number 2. The Doctor examining himself in the mirror and his dramatic costume choice. The Doctor sees his new visage in the mirror and reacts with both vanity and uncertainty. It's visually theatrical and encapsulates the new Doctor's hubris and self-awareness, a flamboyant declaration of identity that's become iconic and often parodied among fans. Brightly lit set, Baker's exaggerated expressions, and a look at previous Doctor's clothing. Notably, Baker holds some of the items of clothing gingerly. Anyone might think he was a Doctor Who fan. Watching the Doctor shuffle through garish outfit choices before settling on his famously clashing coat and accessories is bizarrely entertaining. The scene embodies the drama's high camp tone and Colin Baker's larger-than-life physical comedy, making it a fan favourite for its sheer audacity. The later charity story Dimensions in Time features Sixie pointing at another character's clothing choice and loudly stating "clashes," no doubt reflecting many fans' responses to the introduction of the Sixth Doctor's costume. Number 3. The gastropod reveal, Mestor's first appearance. Mestor's slug-like creature costume is grotesque, low-budget and unforgettable. The reveal often draws laughter or horror from fans, but either way, it sticks because of its visual audacity. It's a symbol of the story's B-movie roots, and it lingers. Number 4. The twins' abduction drives the plot, though their acting is often mocked. Shadowy corridors, hooded figures, tension building, illustrates the companion in peril trope and sci-fi kidnapping themes. Number 5. The slime trails on Jaconda. The barren planet of Jaconda, scarred by giant gastropod slime trails, is a striking and eerie image. It visually conveys ecological devastation and alien invasion, offering a memorable backdrop that resonates, even if execution is cheesy. A symbol of ecological devastation and alien infestation. Number 6. Mestor's mind control beam, green ray death. Mestor's ability to zap opponents into submission with a vivid green beam is frequently cited for its theatrical villainy. The visual is so over the top that it becomes strangely iconic, one of those campy sci-fi visuals fans either love to mock or embrace fondly. 7. The hatchery reveal. Walking into rows of dry, rubbery eggs triggers a slow-building horror. The Doctor's realization, these eggs are built to survive a supernova, reveals the sinister scale of Mestor's plan. It's visually arresting and conceptually unsettling, earning respect even within a flawed story. 8. Azmael's death scene. The emotional climax where Azmael, Edgeworth, frees himself from Mestor's control, and by doing so destroys both mind and villain, lands a rare, heartfelt beat. Even in this panned serial, that moment contains genuine pathos, and fans often highlight it as the lone emotional highlight. 9th final I am the Doctor declaration. At the story's close, the Doctor declares, "I am the Doctor, whether you like it or not." It's a defiant assertion of identity that resonates beyond the narrative itself. For a character coming off such a rocky start, it's a strong, albeit ironic, declaration of self. 10th destruction of Mestor. The climactic use of corrosive acid, or revitalizing fluid, to dissolve Mestor's slug body is visually dramatic and final. It symbolizes the Doctor's triumph over an otherworldly force and closes the arc with messy but satisfying visual justice. I hope you enjoyed this analysis and synopsis of Doctor Who, The Twin Dilemma. Thank you for watching.
Don't forget to click below to subscribe to the unofficial Doctor Who Explainer videos YouTube channel.